Yes. So very good afternoon to the much experienced panel members and the curious audience here. So today I'll be sharing my views on liquid applied waterproofing membranes. So why liquid applied membranes when the waterproofing journey has seen over 30 technological advancements? So a little bit of why to go around with liquid applied membranes. So first of all, liquid applied membranes will give you a seamless, jointless experience. They are very easy to apply at the critical areas and they can take any topography and they can very well take care of the cracks which are going to be formed on any member, basically concretes. So these are the most critical portions where water ingress is most prone to happen. So in the concrete, mostly you can see honeycombing in the concrete, or there are cracks due to non-proper curing. And then there are the vertical and horizontal joints. Then shrinkage cracks are developed, or even the construction joints as well as the expansion joints, plus the porosity in concrete as well. So these are the most common areas where water ingress is most possible. The most important and critical part is the surface preparation. So if the surface preparation is done well, on the applicator part, it's a big relief because the excess concrete is removed. There is no potholes, there are no cracks, there is no honeycombing. So if the surface preparation is done properly, the consumption will also give a optimum result. Then we go ahead with the priming. So the primer has to be very carefully chosen. So the primer must be chosen in such a manner that it should adhere very well with the surface beneath as well as with the waterproofing liquid applied solution which is chosen for that particular area of application. So this is about primers. After the priming is done and it is totally tact free, we go ahead with the treating of critical areas because as we discussed in the previous slide, the critical areas are most prone to leakages. So the critical areas such as the pipes, the core cards, the vertical horizontal joints, or any major cracks. So those can be defined as the critical areas. So we suggest treating them before anything else along with a fabric reinforcement. So after that, we can have 2 to 3 coats, whatever is specified, of the liquid applied membrane. And the post application care, now what post application care means is that if the membrane is going to be left open to the sky and there is going to be some kind of utility, if it's going to be used for any purpose, so if it's not very abrasion resistant, so we suggest some kind of fabric which is laid and then some protection screed that can be done to just protect it from punctures. Otherwise, generally they are tough enough, so they don't have an issue. So these are the important factors that one must look in for in a liquid applied membrane. So mostly people will look in for only three properties. One is the tensile, one is the elongation, and one is the crack bridging property. Otherwise, we also should make sure that the membrane is breathable so that there are no bubbles which will occur afterwards, or it is resistant to weather because India is such a diverse country and we have all kinds of weathers. So the climatic condition, the membrane should be accustomed to that. Then in some cases where the applications are at the podium level or in case of some planters, so there we need an anti-root penetration properties. So mostly membranes will have an anti-root property. So we just need to use those membranes where the podium or the vertical gardens or some plantation is concerned. So why reinforce a fabric? So the most prominent reason is that in reinforcing a fabric, it will increase the life of your waterproofing solution. So generally we recommend a 60 GSM fabric because we've experienced that that's more than enough to suffice any kind of waterproofing situation in India so far. So it controls the consumption as well because you will have an even thickness. It's like a cloth. So it's just laid over the waterproofing first coat. And on top of that, you can get a good hang on the consumption, that if the consumption is done properly or no. Then it has good tensile properties. So definitely it will prevent the cracks, which will, promote the wear and tear of the system. And otherwise, it will give you a very, very good and robust system, which you can look forward to for a couple of years. Then these are some areas where mostly waterproofing is used. So we have just recognized some of the critical portions which if treated properly you can make sure that 99% of your waterproofing is done. So for toilets, then for the balconies, for the terraces, the podiums. So mostly all the critical areas are, just same, only one and two here and there. So basically they are the vertical horizontal joints, which are to be treated as very, very critical. So the 90-degree joints will generally give you a problem. So here is where liquid applied membranes are most promoted, because when you use a loosely laid membrane, so at the 90-degree junctions, you'll have a very big problem, because you can't lay a very proper loosely laid membrane in a 90-degree angle. Whereas the liquid, it will flow and it will take the topography of the surface. And otherwise, those are the electrical fittings, or you can say where the core cuts are there majorly, or the pipe penetrations are there, or the plumbing and electrical fittings come into picture. So all those are generally considered as critical points, and we, promote sealing them first, and followed by going ahead with the waterproofing system. So liquid applied systems are generally very safe because they are cold applied, cold cured, and you get good systems which can be applied at a service temperature ranging from -30 to +90 degrees Celsius. Now, in India, I don't think the temperatures where waterproofing is concerned go around -30 degree or even +90 degrees. So we have a kind of factor of safety bracket for the liquid applied membranes. And then where the metal roofs are concerned, so here some customers are very surprised and happy that, oh, you can use liquid applied membranes where the metal roofs are concerned. So I think this is very new to the customer segment. So yes, we can use liquid applied membranes, which are very, very effective, because in cases of the conventionally used bitumen solutions, so they will, over a time, the edges will debond, or then the bitumen will start melting, and then it won't be able to take the expansion and contraction due to the climatic condition. So we definitely recommend liquid applied to be one of the best solutions for any metal roofs. So there are two major challenges basically on site which are faced by the waterproofing contractors. So one is the debonding part and other is the bubbling part. So debonding means that when your system has come out properly from the surface. So your surface is, for example, concrete, and your primer along with the coating and the fabric, it comes out entirely. So what are the main reasons of debonding? So mainly debonding you will see because the surfaces are not prepared properly, or there is an incorrect choice of primer, or the membrane is not laid properly. So this is just an elaboration where the debonding will happen, and what to do to mitigate those debonding chances. And next is the bubbling issue. So bubbling issue will happen, usually it will happen in the followed 2 to 3 days after the waterproofing liquid applied membranes have been installed. So the common reasons for bubbling is that the surface temperature is one of the most common reasons. So if the surface temperature is very high while applying, so there is maximum chance that the bubbling will occur. Although bubbling can be rectified in a patchwork, but we promote doing it right the first time. And the other major reason for bubbling is that the entrapped air between the fabric and the material, or then the intracoat interval or the consumption is not very proper. So generally, just to give a clarity, for polyurethane membranes, we suggest a consumption of, like for UV stable polyurethane membranes specifically, we suggest a consumption of around 500 to 600 grams per square meter in one coat, not more than that. So typically we have seen that when the consumption exceeds 600 kgs, the bubbling issue will be there. So that's why we suggest that you please carry out the waterproofing as per whatever is specified, and what is the kind of good practices of waterproofing. So yes, because of all the above presentation, this is how liquid applied membranes are a top-notch choice today in the waterproofing industry. And they are also quite environmental friendly and towards the sustainability concept, because most of them are in India, like most of the acrylic membranes are promoted. And what we have experienced is acrylic membranes, if used properly, and a good acrylic membrane is chosen, it works for a good 10 to 12 years. So the only expertise is in choosing the product and getting it applied rightly. So that's where liquid applied membranes become the most favorite choice. And thank you to the audience for being so patient. These are our contact details, and thank you so much.